Yo, hello and welcome guys. Let's take a look at Bitcoin today. So, if you've been following the previous videos, you know we were watching the CME gap at 70.1 thousand to get filled and the liquidity levels around 71,000 to get swept. And what you're going to see is that both of these things happened exactly as we expected. The CME gap got filled and the liquidity levels got swept. Now, this morning, I saw Bitcoin getting a reaction at the point of control of the fixed range volume profile, and I decided to long it with a stop loss below the low. A bit of a riskier trade in my opinion, but it played out well. Already took my first take profit at the CME close and second take profit at the liquidity levels around 71,000. I'm leaving a third of the position open, risk-free, in case bulls manage to get some momentum going. I think that's the less likely scenario right now, but it doesn't cost me anything to leave it open and see what happens. Now if bulls do manage to reclaim the previous range high, I would say that new highs in the current range are definitely possible, but even then the structure for Bitcoin remains bearish on the higher timeframes. Now the question is what happens from here. As I mentioned in the previous video, if we don't see Bitcoin spend a prolonged period above the previous range highs, the first lower target I'm watching is going to be this liquidity level right here at approximately 65.5 thousand US dollars. And what you are going to see is that it lines up with the value area low in the fixed range volume profile. So again, we've got liquidity and a key volume level pointing to the same area. Now, this is also a very important level for the bulls, because if they lose the value area low right here, that opens the door to much lower targets. And I'm talking at or even below 60,000. And that's where the 1.618 fib extension is pointing at. So the bulls really need to hold this level if they don't want to see that kind of move. Definitely something to keep a close eye on. Now, in the previous video, I showed you that Bitcoin is forming a rising wedge on the higher time frames, and that is not particularly bullish as it has a higher probability of breaking to the downside, like it did back in January this year. But the weekly isn't looking pretty either. So let me walk you through what happened on the weekly candles right here. So first we had this big push up and that got completely retraced. Then the next candle came in, filled the entire wick and closed above the highs around 71.4 thousand. And at that point you would think, okay, bulls are stepping in. But then look what happened last week. Price swept above those highs and immediately got slammed back down. The entire pump just got wiped out. So now think about it. Who got trapped here? Breakout longs that entered when we pushed above the highs, continuation longs that were already in, mid-range longs, all of them got caught. And now that the CME gap has been filled, if we see a rejection from this area, that's a pretty clear confirmation that the lower time frame trend is still bearish. Now let me pull up the liquidation heat map because this ties into what we just talked about. So if we look at the 1 week chart right here, what you're going to see is that there's not many shorts above the highs. And that makes sense because not a lot of traders actually managed to short up there. But the longs definitely got trapped, which is exactly what we were just talking about. And if we zoom out to the 2 week chart, same story. Not much new short liquidation liquidity above the highs. But if we go back to the 1 week right here, what you will notice is that there are some late short liquidations sitting just above this level. The same level we tagged as liquidity level that already got swept. So that liquidity has been taken and the CME gap is filled. Now it's about watching if price can hold up there or if we start heading back down. So that's where we are right now. The levels we've been watching played out, the CME gap is filled and the liquidity got swept. Now I'm watching how Bitcoin reacts around the range highs. If we can't hold above, the value area low at 65.5 thousand is the first target, and below that we are looking at 60,000. If you've been following along from the first video, you can see how everything has been connecting. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.